Okay, we're talking about directional and regional terms and anatomical position, which is where you're facing forward and your palms are facing forward as well. So the first directional terms are anterior and posterior, and all that means is anterior would be the front part of the body, and then posterior would be the back. So an example for anterior would be that the face is anterior to the back of the head, or you could say that the toes are anterior to the heel. And then for posterior, you could say that the spine is posterior to the stomach, and that the calf is posterior to the shin. So the next terms are inferior and superior, which means that, say that you have two body parts, and one is below the other, then that one would be inferior, and if it's above it, then it would be superior. So for superior, you could say that the wrist is superior to the fingers, or you could say that the ears are superior to the neck. You could also say that the belly button is inferior to the chest and that the mouth is inferior to the nose. So the next are medial and lateral, which this is in terms of like the midline down the body, and if it's medial, then it's closer to the midline, and then if it's lateral, then it's further away. So you could say that the belly button is medial to the hands because it's closer to that midline, or you could say that the spine is medial to the ears. And you could also say that the shoulders are lateral to the heart, or that the hips are lateral to the stomach. So next is distal and proximal, which these are only going to be used on limbs, and if it's proximal, then it's closer to like the trunk or the torso of the body, that would be on the leg too. And if it's distal, then it's further down the limb. So the elbow is distal to the shoulder, and the knee is distal to the hip, and the ankle is proximal to the toes, and the knuckles are proximal to the fingers. The next ones are superficial and deep, which just means that if it's deeper, then it's deeper down under the skin, and if it's super, then it's on the surface or on top of your body. So for superficial, you could say that the fingernails are superior to the phalanges or the bones in your fingers. You could say that your hair is superior to your skull, or superficial to your skull, not superior. And for deep, you could say that the dermis is deeper than the epidermis, which is the outer layer of your skin, or you could also say that the retina in your eye is deep to the sclera, or the outer layer of your eye. And the last terms are ventral and dorsal, which on a human, ventral is synonymous with anterior, and dorsal is the same as posterior because we only have two legs. But say that we have a four-legged animal. Then this would be the anterior side. This would be the posterior side. And then the top here would be the dorsal side. And the underside would be ventral. Now I'm going to go into the regional terms. So I'll start with the abdominal region, which is just the stomach. Then the antecubital region would be the inner part of the elbow, so on the inside of the arm. The axillary region is the armpit. Brachial is just the arm, or the top part of the arm. Then the buccal region would be the cheeks, or the inside of the cheeks. The calcaneal region is the heel of the foot. Carpal region is another word for wrist. Cephalic region is just the general head. Then the cervical region is kind of the neck, or like the very top of the spine. The coxal region is the hips. The digital region are the fingers. The femoral region is where the femur and your leg is located at the top of your leg. The gluteal region is your butt. The inguinal region is your groin area. The lumbar region is kind of the lower back. And then the nasal region, which is just your nose. The occipital region is the back of the head. Then the olecranal region is the elbow. Then you have the oral region, which is just your mouth. Then the orbital region is your eyes. Your patellar region is your knees. Then pelvic is just your pelvis. The popliteal region is the back of your knee, like where the fold in your leg bends. Then the sacral region, which is kind of at the very bottom of your spine, like where that and your hips are. The scapular region is your shoulder. Then the sternal region is where your sternum is, or where your rib cage meets. The tarsal region is your ankles. The thoracic region it's the main longer part of your spine. And then the umbilical region is where your belly button is. And then finally, the vertebral region is just the entirety of the spine.